देखो कि हम यहाँ से क्या हासिल कर सकते हैं जब तक हम पहाड़ों और मशरक़ी इलाके को देखते हैं. And debrief me at the station at 1400 hours.
जी सर.
Sisters in Arms.
The action sequences were really well done. And once again, you very clearly understood who to cheer for and who not to cheer for in this film. And that there was a language barrier doesn't matter. The subtitles were well done, so it conveyed what it was supposed to convey. And we were clearly feeling the danger that they were in. They were in tremendous danger there. And we felt it here in our seats. So the director did a great job of creating that action sequence.
It's interesting because, they do explain at the beginning the issue of what women deal with in Pakistan and the difficulty to even converse outside of your immediate family or with other women. And these women are, in fact, part of a very intense police force. But what was interesting is that I think if the film was from the West, the fact that at certain points they started talking, the one sister talking about fashion, and the one thing she doesn't know how to do is dress, and there were little sort of traditional, archetypal feminine comments that they were making, which would feel like a cop-out or something kind of weird in a Western film where we are now. That, why do the women have to be talking about quote-unquote girly things when they're in this battle situation? But the fact that Pakistan, that women are just moving into these positions, that they are still in that sort of, they're just moving over the fence from being truly sort of repressed, just be feminine, just be, a woman in the house. But they are, in fact, moving out into the world on a very intense level, but they're still in a transition, and that was really interesting.
I thought it was really interesting that they threw those little moments in, because I thought it normalized them as women in the roles that were traditionally masculine.
I think it's particularly because it's a female-directed film. She understands a lot of the sort of
nuance,
the comments that they make to each other, and the director really takes the action right through, and she leaves us with the question: was the police officer that got taken as hostage actually shot? We don't know that, but it looks, from the way that it ended, that's really what happened, but it never was shown.
I thought that the director did such a good job just building in such a short time the characters, the realness, the humanity behind each of the characters, that towards the end scene I quite literally felt like I couldn't breathe, because it was just such an intense moment where I was thinking, is she gonna shoot her own sister? Like, what's going to happen? Is she gonna watch her own sister suffer through the fire? And then when that last moment hit, like, I felt the sister's soul just like being sucked out of her. And in that moment, I just felt like it was just so well built because of all the humanity and the little moments, like everyone was saying, throughout the entire film.
For me, the last 10 seconds was what that movie was all about. The shot of her face as she took that third shot, which was clearly going to be her sister, because there was two terrorists, and she shot both of them. So the third shot, we saw her sister going on fire, and there obviously wouldn't, from what I could see, there wouldn't be time to get to her and rescue her. So she made the decision to shoot her own sister, and her face during that was just heartbreaking. I've never seen anything like it. Just amazing. And I didn't think that when the two police officers were chatting and the sister, whom I thought was killed, made the comment about her sister not knowing how to dress. I thought it was a small thing. It just showed that her sister was obviously very accomplished. But here's a little thing that she didn't do so well. But it created a sense of relationship. And the fact that they were both serving in that unit said a lot about the relationship. And just having to make that call and take that shot in her face throughout it, that was just brilliant.
Absolutely, and there's this gut-wrenching foreshadow. She's good at everything. She's a good shot. And that's the thing that has to, in a sense, both break her and save her from watching something terrible and saving her sister from what would be an agonizing end of life.
One thing I found very interesting was the look on the sister when she shot her sister, and sort of that she stayed hard, it looked like. You know, she was fighting not to cry, not to show emotion. And again, that could be, you know, living in that circumstance, in that environment where anyone could be killed at any time. And being the first women who were involved in fighting against that. So maybe she has to be better and stronger. I don't know though, you know, I sort of, if she would have cried, I don't know, it would have been a little different, but I just sort of wondered about it.
I wondered about the choice at the end to have the Taliban people stop so close by, because in a war, people would probably be very aware about the range of rifles and what they were doing. So, I mean, yeah, maybe they wanted the policewomen to see what they were doing, but would they want to sacrifice their own lives? I mean, they could still get that point across and be a little further away.
I have two thoughts on that. Either, yes, it was about, we don't think you're actually going to shoot us, and we want you to watch what we're going to do. Or it was just the efficientness of the plot, having to have that in range.
One of the things I thought was most interesting about that piece was when she approached that domestic space and was talking to that woman in the home.
आपने गांव के तरफ इन आदमियों को देखा होगा?
नहीं. It felt like there was an enormous gulf between her and the more domestically inclined woman, where the woman said, no, I haven't seen these men. Had she picked up on that, had she pried a little bit more, maybe she would have gotten more information out of her. So I felt this film was talking about the fine line between having that sort of traditionally feminine empathy for her sister when she shoots her at the end and sort of puts her out of her misery, and not being able to read the more subtle, I don't know, I guess, feminine qualities of the more domestically inclined woman who's at home all the time, not being able to really relate to her. And she was just like, oh, okay, you haven't seen them, I'll see you later. And I think that was a really interesting moment, that sort of juxtaposition between the two.
So you could make an academic debate in this piece if you take it out of just the characters and put it more of archetypes against archetypes,
right,
against spaces against spaces. Mm-hmm. That this is a character moving out of one domestic space and into a non-domestic space,
right? And
what she has to do to the woman who represents the domestic space, because it's her sister who makes more feminine comments.
For sure, and I just felt that she was very out of touch with that sort of domestic realm, and she didn't really know how to read it. She didn't really know how to, conduct herself within it. She seemed very uncomfortable, and I thought that was very telling.
She sacrificed it,
right,
for the position she was in,
mm-hmm.
and that position came with some terrible, terrible choices. So you're taking a completely academic approach to that film when I read it that way, mm-hmm. But it's a fascinating point still, that she is standing at opposite ends of a world,
for sure,
with someone else.
I couldn't help but take a completely different turn in terms of that film, and thinking my mind went more into like a Law and Order series, because I couldn't help but thinking these women were stepping out of the role of women in that traditional society, and the men hated. And then my mind said, did Captain Handsome set them up? And I wondered about that.
Oh. That's a great and deeply troubling note to end on. That's the kind of stuff you want to think about in films like this.
It's very interesting you saw that. I took it a little differently when Captain Handsome said, there's good hunting back there. I thought maybe he was sort of warning her, there may be some Taliban. So anyway, it could be read either way, you don't know.